What's up, nerds? Harbinger here with Patchy the Pirate, doing a flip video. Lesson learned. This is my third time trying this one. If a pop-up comes up and it says you need some permissions, do you want to continue or cancel? Don't hit cancel because it deletes an entire flipped video. Delightful. Anyway, the meme of the day is kind of fast. Hey kids, you want to help Kowalski analyze the problem? You need 3 problems for some awesome Fortnite swag. I love the Kowalski analysis memes. I think they're hilarious. So you too can leave your credit card number and the 3 numbers on the back and the expiration date and a comment in the video below, and maybe we can get some sweet ad revenue. I mean, awesome Fortnite swag for the classroom or something, right? Our topic for the day is definitely going to be, not the Camtasia software, it's going to be repetition. So there's a Java video in this one already, so you can always look at the Java version because the ideas are the same. But some of it is a little bit different. So we're going to do 2 different kinds of repetition, and those 2 kinds of repetition are done in a total of 4 different ways. So I'm hoping to do something that makes sense for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take in a number, and I'm going to show you that I can count from 1 up to that number. So I'm gonna establish an end point. I'm going to respond to my wife here through text. Yes. Okay. And I'm going to ask, hey, int input, give me a number. And I'm going to count from 1 up to it. I give it 1,000 and it's going to count from 1 to 1,000. So I need to establish a step variable to actually do the counting, right? Like endpoint's job is just to be the end. It's not going to count down, it's not going to count up. It's there. You know, you're the terminal point. You are the sentinel. The term in computer science is sentinel. So step looks like that. So syntactically, it's while step is less than equal to end point. I wish I could spell step correctly, but it doesn't matter if I misspell it as long as I am maintaining. Sorry, I never had to pause the video before. Wife called. Questions. All right, so step is 1. And while 1 is less than or equal to whatever number I put in, it should be okay. So if somebody tries something cute like -12 or something like that, 1 isn't less than or equal to -12. It's never going to run. So that's a good thing. All right, so I'm going to print the value of step like that. And if I just stop here, it's not going to go well, right? I'm going to say 10, and it's 1's all down, like it's like 1's all the way down. Because is 1 less than or equal to 10? Yes. Print it. Is 1 less than or equal to 10? Yup, print it. 1 less than or equal to 10. So over and over and over and over. Everybody forgets the change part. So I'm going to add 1 into step every single time. 1 through 10. You know, if I changed this, which is less than, it's going to be 1 through 9. Right? Because is 1 less than or equal to 5? Sorry, is 1 less than 5? Yup. I said that wrong. Is 5 less than 10? Yes, print 5. Jumps up to 6. 6 less than 10? Yup, print 6. Jump up to 7. All the way up to is 9 less than 10? Yes, print 9. Step is now 10. Is 10 less than 10? No. So if I want code to happen after the loop, I can say this. And then you can see that it like finishes at a certain point. So 6. 1 through 5, done. That's kind of nice. So that's a while loop. The other kinds of loop, though, are I keep misspeaking, I'm sorry. The other kinds of loop are for loops. I can say something like for x in range, and if I don't like x, I can use step or something like that, or I, or whatever kind of variable I want, and I'm going to give it a number like that. Print. And what it does is step starts off at 0. Is 0 less than 10? Yes, so it prints 0. It jumps up by 1 automatically. So this is called a for loop. A while loop is used for like when you know a condition and you want something to run as long as the condition is true. Unlike a for loop runs a set amount of times. So a for loop is like a factorial. You know, if you want to run 7 factorial, it's 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, or 1 up to 7, it doesn't matter. And that's a set number of times I'd run a for loop. But if you don't really know how many times something is going to run, like when you see some of the programs on the lab, a while loop is better because it's like, hey, while this is happening, do this. So when I run this one, 0 through 9, that's kind of cool. If you want greater control over it, starting point, ending point, and I'll even leave that note. So the one way to do it would be like 4x in range, and I would say ending point, like that. And what that does is it prints everything from 0 inclusive on up to the ending point exclusive, right? In math terms, you know, it includes the 0, it excludes the ending point, like that. Now the one we're on right now, that's similar but slightly different. 4x in range, and there's a start, and there's an end, or a start. I can think of worse things to put. And it looks like that. Now, what that does is, in terms of math, it includes the starting point, it excludes the ending point. So, in terms of interval notation, included, excluded. So, not that awful. And I guess there's one more kind of for loop that most people forget about. So my Java programmers right now are thinking, wait, starting point, ending point, Harbinger, I know that for loops traditionally have 3 parts. They have a starting point, they have an ending point, and they have a change value. So this is called an overloaded control structure, which means, hey, the for loop can run with just an ending point, or maybe the for loop can end with a start and an end, or maybe the for loop can have 3 parts, which is a start, a stop, and a change. So what I can do is I can run this all over again, and it says 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, so it just runs the odds. And if I made this guy like a 2, it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, so it runs the evens. It starts here, is 2 less than 10, yes, so print 2, increase by 2. Now it's 4. Is 4 less than 10? Yep, print 4, increases to 6. 6 less than 10? It sure is. Print it, increase to 8. 8 less than 10? Yes. Print it, increase to 10. 10 less than 10? No. So I can have as many lines of code inside a for loop as I want, and anything that's not indented afterwards, that just means, hey, when the for loop is done, you can do this, right? Like I could print done or something like that down here. But I don't think I need to. So the cool part is, what if I want like 1002 down to 0, and I could change by -20 or something like that? You can change it by negative if you want to count down. So it starts off at 1002, and it works its way all the way down to 2. So kind of neat, right? At some point it falls down to like -18 or something like that, but -18 is less than 0, therefore it stops, right? Like the condition kind of reverses. So I'm going to leave that as a comment too. So 4x in range, and I'm going to have a start, an end, and a change. And the range is start is included, and the end is excluded. And the change is kind of factored in somewhere in there, but not really explicitly. If you think about, if you know your Algebra 2 or your stats, the big sigma notation, right, this is like that. So you have the starting point, you have the ending point, and the change, although in sigma notation, the change is almost always 1, right? So it's kind of like this one. And then the stuff inside the loop is kind of what's happening on the right-hand side of the sigma notation. So that's kind of neat in terms of like a relationship. Although sigma notation adds up all the stuff, we can write a for loop to add up all the stuff. I mean, really, what if the question was like, what's the sum of all the numbers from 1 to 100? Right? That's like a famous math problem. So it used to be designed to keep kids busy, and a famous mathematician saw the shortcut pretty quickly and solved it. I remember my math teacher gave it to us back in the day. Hey guys, add up all the integers from 1 to 100. Go. And I think she just wanted like a 15-minute break. And I wasn't as smart as the famous mathematician. But 1 to 100. And I can do this, but I don't have to do the change. I can leave it like that. And you're going to say something smart like, wait, doesn't it exclude the 100? Yes, so I'm going to make it 101. So I could have a sum variable. I'm going to set it equal to 0. And I'm just going to sum the numbers. Sum plus equals step. And when I'm done, I'm going to print the sum. So 5,050, right? I remember the shortcut being there are 50 pairs of numbers that add up to 101. 1 plus 100, 2 plus 99, 3 plus 98. And there's 50 of those pairs, and they add up to 5,050. So that's 3 different for loops. It's one with just an end, one with a start and an end, one with a start, end, and a change. Now, some of you are probably thinking, I wonder if I could put a loop inside a loop. Yeah, anything that you want repeated, and you want that repetition carried out again and again and again and again. Famous examples are like, how many prime numbers are there from 1 to 1,000,000? You know, in order to do a prime number in the first place, you have to check all these possible factors from 1 up to the number, or maybe 2 up to the number, or something like that. So that's a loop. But if I want all the primes from 1 to 1,000,000, I'm checking each of those numbers versus all of their factors, right? So it's kind of cool that way. You can put a loop inside a loop. Heck, you could do a loop inside a loop inside a loop. You know, what if I want to output all the Pythagorean triples from 1 up to 1,000,000? You know, all the different side lengths from 1 to 1,000,000. I could test all of them, right? I could test like 1,000,000 cubed possible combinations. You could do that, right? You could run an A loop from 1 to 1,000,000. You could run a B loop from 1 to 1,000,000. You could run a C loop from 1 to 1,000,000, and you could check it. Heck, it could be more efficient. Instead of running B from 1 to 1,000,000, you could run B from something different, maybe start at a different point or end at a different point, depending on your point of view. Same deal with C. That way you're not worrying about like 3, 4, 5, and also 4, 3, 5. That works. You know, so you can really focus on bigger problems if you know how to do a loop inside of a loop. Be really careful though, because sometimes things get kind of dicey and people forget to do resets and things like that of variables inside of their nested loops. So I'm not going to show a ton more. I'm kind of hoping people are going to figure it out on the lab. We might do a worksheet or something like that to support this. But understand, please, a lab is coming your way. It's not going to be horrible. This might be the last lab of the Python unit. Not sure yet. I got to check the calendar and the time frame. But happy looping. Harbinger out!